No,
Ready?
I get you. I am ready, my friend.
Kansas State, of course, is in the news this week because they're playing week 0 in Dublin, Ireland. I'm going to tell you why you should believe in them all season long right here.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome into the Locked On College Crossover. I just bit my tongue. Hang on a minute. Oh, man. I wasn't ready. Let's try it again.
Oh, geez.
Thank God for edits. If that was live, I would swear, I would have cussed. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Yes, welcome on into a Locked On College Crossover. Locked On Sun Devils, Locked On Kansas State. It's going to be a good time. We are less than one day away from college football. When you wake up tomorrow, there will be football on your TV. Exciting stuff. Richie Bradshaw here to talk to me about ball. And we're going to talk about the Kansas State Wildcats. We're going to talk about the Arizona State Sun Devils. I think they're going to be in Arlington. Little teaser to what we're going to talk about in the future on this show, and so much more. Before we do so, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season, of course, right around the corner, hours away. In the FanDuel app, you get to go to that today and start planning your futures bet at FanDuel.com. Richie, Kansas State is going to be one of those teams that you need to watch out for. And dare I say that you should feel lucky that you do not have to play Kansas State in the regular season. You might have to play them in Arlington. You might have to. But Kansas State is going to be one of those teams where you do not want to play them at all during the regular season. And they're going to prove that why in Dublin on Saturday. I don't know if you feel the same way about them. I don't know if you're believing the hype or believing the purple Kool-Aid, but Avery Johnson and that offense is going to step up and look real dang hot in Dublin, Ireland.
I think it's just hard not to buy into Kansas State on a near annual basis because Kleiman has been so good. And before that, you had, Bill Snyder. They just have been a very well-run program for decades. And every once in a while they'll have a bad season. They have a bad season. You're like, oh, that wasn't normal. And then you get right back on track. They're contenders in the Big 12 every year. And one of the things that I talked about recently on Locked On Sun Devils is like there's not really a face to the conference right now because Texas and Oklahoma are gone. And if anyone is in line to take that, I mean, Kansas State has the easiest path to inherit that mantle as far as, football goes. But this is going to be a really big season for them. It's the second year of the brand new looking Big 12. They had a solid push last year, but came up a few spots short of going to the championship game. You're bringing back a lot of good players, and I am in on the Dylan Edwards hype train. So give me Kansas State to be one of the best rushing teams in the Big 12, and I think that that's going to have a massive advantage for the teams that can run the football really good in the conference this year. So as good as the quarterback play is, I think if you have a team that can run the heck out of the football, that's really going to balance and push you over the top of teams that just have great quarterbacks, which that's more than half the league.
Yeah, that's true. We can talk about quarterbacks in just a minute, but I want to continue on that running back conversation. Earlier on Locked On Kansas State, on an earlier episode today, the Friday morning episode, Farmageddon Friday, Nick Maravets and myself, Locked On Cyclones host, talked about the keys to victory to the game on Saturday. And my biggest key to victory was whoever wins the rushing battle, the rushing attack in this one is going to come out on top. And you think of Avery Johnson, you think of Dylan Edwards, and a guy that no one talks about, Joe Jackson, leading that charge in the rushing attack. It's really hard not to point the finger at Kansas State and say, yeah, they're going to take charge of that running game, control the clock in a setting that is not comfortable to either teams after international travel, and they're going to get the job done. What do you think about that, about the running game being a key figure, a key aspect on Saturday's matchup?
I mean, that makes a lot of sense for both teams because right now we're waiting to see how the passing games are going to look. We want to see if Avery Johnson has taken that step forward as a more efficient passer. He definitely got better as the season went on. We had all joked in the first couple games of last season that every 3 passes went something like this: a dart down the field, an incompletion, and a ball that was thrown up to the pretty girl in the second level of the stands. Like, that was not the case by the end of the season. Avery had just very much improved. So you're looking forward to what you see this year. And I know that you guys made some additions to the pass catching core. So that'll be fun. But you also have like the same exact thing going on with Iowa State, but Rauh Becht is a more proven passer, but they're having to replace 2,000-yard receivers. There was only 2 teams in college football last year that had multiple 1,000-yard receivers, Iowa State and Ohio State. So you're having to replace both of them. And I know they're really excited about the guys they brought in. And again, I'm just going to be wait and see to find out what they're going to be. But I like Rauh Becht quite a bit, and I know that they got a decent little run game back there too. But that's one of the reasons why I think I'm going Kansas State in this game is I trust that Kansas State will be able to run the ball better than Iowa State will be able to pass the ball in that game.
Shout out to Will Howard there. And you brought up Rauh Becht, and you said that he is a little bit more proven than Avery Johnson. Okay, I might give you a little bit of a nod there just from what happened last year. Sure, I got it. But his completion percentage isn't much higher than Avery Johnson's was last year with Higgins and Noel, somebody who he threw 167 receptions to, both top NFL draft picks playing with the Houston Texans now. Now that you don't have 2 safeguards at wide receiver,
right,
you have unprovens and unknowns. Yes, there's some guys coming in the portal that do seem to have some talent. I'm not going to say they're completely a terrible wide receiver core. I'm not saying that. It's just a lot of question marks. Do you think that throws a little bit of shade at Rauh, or you're really thinking like, okay, maybe was he a good quarterback because of his talent or because of the wide receivers he had around him?
Well, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a loaded question because he's had Jaden Higgins for a handful of years, and the 2 of them had some success. And Noel was solid in 2023, and then last year he blew up. And I think that they had a really good synergy between the 2 of them, where Becht was able to get the best out of his receivers, and his receivers were able to place Becht in the best situation possible for him to be as effective as he ended up being. So it felt like a really good synergy, but now there is going to be some pressure on Rauh Becht to be able to step up and deliver as an elite quarterback. And that's really what separates these guys is you find out, are you able to elevate the talent around you, or do you get the most out of the talent around you? Because there's a drastic difference between those 2. You get to the pros, and that's like the difference between a Peyton Manning and a Joe Flacco. As much as I love my boy Flacco, he wasn't elevating anybody, but he can get the most out of his guys. Peyton Manning was making Pierre Garçon and Austin Collie household names. So back to college, this is going to be a big time prove it for Rauh Becht is you were just playing with 2 NFL receivers who were top 100 picks. Let's see if you can make the next guys stand up. And again, I know Iowa State's excited about these kids, but it's going to be up to Becht to be able to get the ball to them. And you have to create some new chemistry.
I think it's fair to say that Kenny Dillingham is the up-and-coming head coach in the Big 12 and in all of college football. But when you look at Matt Campbell and you look at Chris... No, absolutely. But when you look at Chris Klieman and you look at Matt Campbell, they are some of the mainstays in the Big 12 and some of the most tenured inside the conference. Not the most, but some of the most respected for sure. When you put the rankings out and you look at some of the conferences and the coaches, how they look, I usually see Campbell and Klieman. It's somewhere always in the top 5, one way, shape, or form. That's a matchup we're getting for the entire world to see to start off the college football season. What do you think about that? As somebody who's just entering the Big 12, this is only year 2 for you. And obviously, I know you're a ball knower. You've been paying attention to college football across the country for years. But Klieman and Campbell, of course, we love to talk the Johnson and Beck story. But those 2 coaches, that's a great matchup to start the season.
Well, it's phenomenal. I mean, if you were to take the collection of coaches in the Big 12, it would be hard to find guys that would mesh in a great clash with each other the way that those two would. And you talk about tenure, a lot of the coaches that are in the Big 12 right now don't have nearly the amount of tenure that those guys have. Kenny Dillingham's only in his third year. Deion Sanders in his third year. Kyle Whittingham has been there a minute. He's probably the only guy off the top of my head who
Gundy
could
too,
be there. And Gundy. Yeah, of course. Sorry, Oklahoma State, you're like an afterthought right now. No offense. Shout out Cody Stovall. But otherwise, it's a lot of young coaches. But Kleiman's been running that team for a while. Matt Campbell, I'm old enough to remember when the NFL was calling him for jobs, and everyone thought he was going to be the next New York Jets head coach. Lots of NFL talk, I guess. But I am excited for the coaching matchup. And it's so common, especially in college, to be caught up in the head-to-head player matchups. You find out that X player is going up against Y player, and they're both going to be top 5 picks, and it's amazing. But then you kind of overlook the fact that it's like, oh, well, that's two of the 20 best coaches in college football that are clashing against each other. It gets overshadowed quite a bit. So I hope that for Big 12 fans, there's more of an appreciation there, not just for a great Big 12 matchup, not just for Farmageddon, which I say I wish it was in the States. That just is a game that I think needs to be kept on campus. It has nothing to do with it being on national television. I'm happy it is. I think that there's a lot of great energy that's going to be going on the field just between the coaches. So hopefully Big 12 fans will appreciate that.
My only take for that, my stance on the fact that this game is in Dublin and not Manhattan like it's supposed to be, is I'm okay with it as long as Brent Yormark comes on the screen when he's talking in the stands or whatever the case may be, because he's eventually going to have an interview during the game. And he says, you know what? I messed up. This game actually does need to be protected post 2027, something that it's not happening right now. Farmageddon is a great rivalry, and we need to make sure that they play every single year. Next up,
and make it the last game of the year.
And I don't even care when they play. I just want to play every single year.
Give me a rivalry week. ASU and U of A can only do so much.
I don't hate it. I don't hate a rivalry week, but then again, to be completely honest, I don't care if they put it on week 1, week 6, week 12. I just want to make sure they play every single year.
A triple header of Territorial Cup, Duel in the Desert, Farmageddon, and Holy War to end the year in the Big 12. Come on, dude.
I have no notes. No notes. That's
absolute perfect. Cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. I would find a way to fly a plane between games. That's exactly what I would want to do for sure. I'd have to get my pilot's license to make sure. Hey, coming up, let's talk Arizona State. Can they go back to back? Can they make it back to Arlington? That's something that no program that is currently inside the Big 12 has done in 20 years. Let's talk about that next on the Locked On College Crossover. But first, on August 26th, it's officially FanDuel's Future Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, folks, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown that Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Richie, can your Baltimore Ravens go to the Super Bowl this year? Are you ready to crown them the champion in August and put your stuff in on FanDuel's Future Day? You ready?
Well, you know what? There's no harm in just getting ready to get hurt again. And dude, that Future Day, I've got that circled on my calendar. As a sicko, I have Future Day circled on my calendar.
Well, if you're a other sicko just like Richie, make sure you circle August 26th, FanDuel Future Day, on your calendar, and visit the FanDuel app today to get started your future bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Arizona State shocked the world last year. I don't think there's any other way to say it, Richie, but they shocked the world. They were predicted last. This is a narrative we hear over and over again, and we're probably going to stop hearing it now that the season started, but they were predicted last to finish in the Big 12 last season. Well, guess what? They did the complete opposite. They won the whole dang thing, and they were just a measly play away from defeating Texas in the college football playoffs, and what, in my opinion, was the greatest college football playoff game of the season last year. You bring back Sam Leavitt. You bring back a healthy Jordan Tyson. Yes, you're no longer with the epic running back of Cam Scattaboo, but Kenny Dillingham has some stuff up his sleeve. I love what we've heard from him this offseason, how he's been treating the offseason and making it feel like nobody cares about them winning the championship because they need to do it again. How do you feel about their chances of going back-to-back to Arlington, something that no current Big 12 team has done since the 2004-2005 season?
I mean, I feel great about it. And the biggest reason why is because of everything that's coming back. Is everyone is so focused on Cam Scattaboo, aka the people's running back, being gone from this team. And to me, the biggest reason why is because no one saw ASU football last year, because they were bottom feeders. No one wanted to watch them. Who could blame them? They were coming off consecutive 3-win seasons. No one gave a crap about ASU until they came out of nowhere. So by the time people are scrambling to figure out what's going on with ASU, we want to be able to know what we're talking about when they pop up on ESPN. Everyone's watching Cam Scattaboo. And then going into the game, Scattaboo says, yeah, I'm the best running back in the country. So, put that microscope on him. Everyone's watching Cam Scattaboo. He wins Peach Bowl MVP. It's like, okay, yeah, no, he's good. But then they find out he's gone. He was like, oh, Arizona State's going to stink. Arizona is going to stink. Arizona State is going to stink. But I don't get it, because you do return Sam Leavitt and Jordan Tyson, who are going into the year. I don't know if there is another quarterback receiver combo in the country that played with each other last year and going into this year are better. Maybe Cade Klubnik and Antonio Williams, but otherwise, all your quarterback receiver combos are pretty much switched up. No one is going to be as good as Leavitt to Tyson in my book. And those two are going to dominate. And I think people are going to realize, oh yeah, Scattaboo's gone, but Jordan Tyson did lead college football in receiving yards for about a month and a half. He was averaging over 100 yards a game. Kansas State is very aware of how good Jordan Tyson is. They got a firsthand glimpse of it in Manhattan. So, yeah, the offense is going to be fine. They are returning so many other players offensively too, but the defense returns almost everyone. Depending on what week you looked at, because we all know that starting lineups can just vary so many different times. I have seen people that will tell you that ASU brought back 10 of 11 starters on defense. You can say that, and that's fine. I would tell you that ASU brought back almost 20 of their most rotated players from last year on defense, because they rotate a lot with defensive coordinator Brian Ward. And that defense is really, really good. There are several all-conference players on there. There are several future NFL players on there. They're bringing back a team that ran the gauntlet last year, and they're being written off again. And I don't understand it. I'm normally of the opinion, if you are the reigning champion, unless something drastic happened, you should be respected as the defending champion until further notice. Like, Ohio State should be the number one team in the country, in my opinion, because they're the reigning champs and they brought back a pretty good amount of stuff, but they did lose some stuff, right? ASU should be treated as the reigning champs of the Big 12, and it certainly does not feel that way. I feel like I hear way more about Texas Tech, Spencer McLaughlin, and way more about BYU, Drake Toll, than I do about ASU. Blows my mind. Blows my tiny little mind.
I love it. I love the call outs too. Definitely warranted by far.
Those are my boys, though. Those are my boys.
Oh, absolutely. When you look at Arizona State this year, you talk about roster retention, and that's so big because when you think about some of the other major programs in the country, not just the Big 12, Clemson, Penn State, those are some of the schools that pop up to me right off the bat that are like brought back good retention, and you're seeing them towards the top of the country. Of course, there's a Big 12 bias. That's never the love against it. But in the Big 12 conference, you never know what to expect. And that's something that I think you're still going to learn, although you learned it easily last year, starting from the bottom and then made it all the way to the top. Look at us creating a Drake song. But what I will say this, Richie, is that it's a tough task. There's no doubt about it, because it hasn't been done in 20 years if you don't consider Oklahoma or Texas. 2004, 2005, Colorado is the last team, other than the two teams that left
Pac-12
the SEC,
legends,
that won the Big 12, or excuse me, just went to Arlington back-to-back years. Looking at your schedule, I know we're going to do a deep dive. We're going to do Big 12 predictions in the next segment here, but let's do a deep dive with Arizona State real quick. Looking at your schedule, I'm saying that you got to go at least 7-2. That's what was the magic number last year to get to Arlington, 7-2 plus a little bit of tiebreakers. But let's just push those out for the sake of this conversation. You got to go 7-2 to get to Arlington this year. What is the path for Arizona State? What are the two most dangerous games in conference that you are worried about to make sure they don't pass? And in this case, I guess we should say 3, because if you get 3 losses, you're out.
Right. So what's so interesting about the schedule is ASU has probably the most important game of the season besides the Territorial Cup at home this year when they host Texas Tech. But they have 3 insanely difficult road games. You start Big 12 play at Waco to play Baylor. I am bullish on Baylor. You go to Salt Lake City to play Utah. They always play ASU tough. They only beat Utah last year, ASU, by a single possession with the quarterback didn't even make it through the game. Cam Rising, there it is. He didn't even make it through the game.
Shout out AARP.
Yeah, no kidding. He's got like 3 doctorates, man, with how many years he spent in college. Dr. Rising, probably.
Yeah.
That's a tough game. And then in November, you're going to Ames to play Iowa State. And we've been to Colorado in November. It's cold. Ames, Iowa in November is a little bit colder. That Midwest winter time, late fall, it's different. It's very different than what ASU has played, and that's going to be a very pissed off Iowa State team. And God forbid, it's going to be really foggy during that game. I already know in the back of my head it's going to be a bad weather football game. You have got to find a way to win 2 of those 3 games. Because if you drop the pooch on 2 of them, ASU wants to go undefeated at home again this year. But you're hosting Texas Tech, TCU, and a sneaky Houston team. Shout out Parker Ainsworth. Getting all the boys in here.
When I look, you talk about the Iowa State game in November. That was when Farmageddon normally is, right? Last year in Farmageddon, we were in Ames. That game was 20 degrees with a decent amount of wind. It felt like 8 degrees outside. It's a different kind of cold. It's not Colorado cold. It's not Boulder cold. Ames is a different kind of beast. And that's something that, Arizona State might have to do. So you got 3 tough away games in Baylor, Utah, and Iowa State. Of course, Tech on the schedule as well. And TCU and Houston are definitely one of the biggest wild cards in the conference. It's a tough matchup, but obviously you can get through it. You see this team getting back to Arlington. You see it happening. If so,
yes.
What is your record prediction for the Sun Devils in 2025?
I am standing firm. I have said 10-2 for a little while. I'm going to stick with 10-2. I'm still not 100% sure on the losses yet. As of now, I chalk up Iowa State as a loss. I have had Baylor chalked up on a loss. I don't know for sure. I think they dropped one of those 2 games, but I do have ASU 10-2, undefeated in out of conference play, so 7-2 in Big 12. Just like we're saying that magic number is. Now we just need a little bit of luck from everyone beating each other up.
Yep, and that's exactly what happens in this Big 12 conference. So let's break it down. Let's talk about this dog-eat-dog conference, parity from top to bottom. Who are the contenders, who are the pretenders, and who will actually wind up in Arlington? We'll talk about that next on this Locked On College Crossover. But first, this episode is brought to you by Rauh. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rauh Ready. Rauh Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills, they can take hours. Well, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue, kicks in fast, and on an average 15 minutes, effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when a moment is right. I love that it's completely online. Rauh connects you with a board-certified doctor, ships that treatment discreetly to your door, and if you head through Raugiet.com/LockedOnCollege, again, that's code LockedOnCollege, you can get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege. Use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compound drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit Raugiet website for full information. The Big 12 is always the toughest conference to decide. And we hear it from national media. There's so much that they decided not to do a preseason poll for the official Big 12 conference, but we're not afraid to give our predictions on this show, are we? And that's exactly what we're going to do. Richie, Bradshaw, Christian Rauh here, Locked On College Crossover, Locked On Kansas State, Locked On Sun Devils. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is the two teams that I see heading to Arlington when it's all said and done. Kansas State, Arizona State. That's the two teams that I have in. I have them both going 10-2 and 7-2 in the conference. There's going to be some tiebreakers, but I think the tiebreakers are going to fall in handy of those two teams. Arizona State finds a way to break that drought of a team going back-to-back to Arlington, and Kansas State makes it back for 2022. Before we dive in deep with the contenders and pretenders, I think you don't have the same way I do. What do you have as your Arlington matchup?
You know what? I've had a long time to think about this. Back in February, it was Baylor. About a month ago, it was Texas Tech. We talked, though. I told you I think Kansas State is going to sweeten that conversation. I've been back and forth between those three. And here's what I've come down to, Christian. Baylor, really, really good football team. I'm bullish on them. Is Dave Aranda going to do it a whole year? I don't know. Texas Tech. Great looking team. They are the paper champs. They're the paper lion, the paper tiger, whatever it is. I got to see it to believe it. And I see Kansas State.
Ooh.
I'm like, they're proven. That's a good team. It's a talented team, well-coached team, good home field advantage. If they start off the season 1-0, which I am predicting them to take down Iowa State, I am in on Kansas State. Give me ASU, Kansas State in Arlington for the Dr. Pepper Bowl and all 23 flavors.
I love it. Absolutely. I love it. That's be a heck of a matchup, and I'd be excited to see that one for sure. It can definitely happen. I can definitely vision it now. When I look at contenders and pretenders, Iowa State's in there still. I think they finish with the exact same record as Arizona State and Kansas State, 7-2 in the conference. But the tiebreakers fall away from them because they lose in Dublin on Saturday. And I also am a believer of Baylor. I think Baylor's going to be either 4th or 5th in the conference when it's all said and done, but they fall to tiebreakers as well. That's my contenders thing. On the pretenders side, Richie, I'm going to give you a little of my thoughts before I let yours. On the pretender side, I'm going to lean a little bit Texas Tech here. I think Texas Tech might be on the pretender side here. One, there's a little bit of injury concerns now with the running back. That's a cop-out. That's not what I'm going to use for a reasoning, but I think it's still fair to bring up
it's valid
into the conversation with Joyner, right? But Coach McGuire has yet to surpass that 9-win mark while at Texas Tech. Can he do it with all these resources? If so, I'll gladly change my tune next offseason. I'll have no problem doing that. I can eat my shorts. I got a great washing machine, and they're always clean. However, Richie, I just can't say that Texas Tech is going to be ready to do that. That's my pretender here. There's a couple other ones that I could easily say that would make a lot of sense. But with Tech being the team that everybody is rooting for and saying they're ready to go, I just can't see them as a contender just yet. Not with the way the rest of the conference looks.
No, and I'm with you for Texas Tech. I do think they're closer to pretenders than contenders, but I tier that line, and I've gone back and forth. My biggest thing at the end of the day, because we see this in sports all the time, professional, collegiate, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever have you, you can build a super team. It's not always going to work. I mean, we've seen super teams in sports that don't have 22 starting players, like the Miami Heat, that won 2 of 4 championships. They almost didn't win any thanks to Ray Allen. We are going all over the place with
I love
references
it.
today, I
I
guess.
love it, man.
Yeah, shout out just sports being great. But it doesn't always work out that way. Like I said, they're the paper lion, the paper tiger, the paper champ, the paper dragon, whatever. Until I see it work out on the field, we'll wait and see. They beefed up their trenches for sure. Do we realize how much chemistry it takes for your trench play to be great? Like, it's not just about adding the really good football players, it's having those guys, Romello Height and David Bailey and Lee Hunter, that are all on the same page together to accomplish the same task. So there's not a guarantee that just because they added a bunch of NFL players that they're all going to mesh together. So we'll wait and see. I'll go ahead and stir the pot here. You want a pretender? They're in Salt Lake City, and it's Utah.
I was going to ask you. That was literally my next question: is what do you think about Utah? Where would you rank them?
They are a good team. They are well coached. That defense is great. Every year they want to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. But you know what? I have questions about Devin Dampier. He is a quality thrower and an elite runner. He was doing that at New Mexico, and he tore up U of A. We ended up seeing what U of A was, though. So I want to see what he does against Power 4 competition, and he's going to face good defenses this year. He's got BYU and ASU on the schedule, just those two by himself. He's going to play Colorado, that they still got some guys on defense. I know they're reloading, but DJ McKinley at corner is a pretty good football player. So they're going to face some good defenses this year. I am not all the way in on Devin Dampier, and I'm certainly I don't know what to do with their pass catchers. I can't remember the last time they had an elite pass catcher that wasn't 50-year-old Brant Keithy. I'm pretty sure him and Cam Rising went to high school together in the 70s, man. Like, I just until I see it on the field, I don't know if I'm ready to buy into Devin Dampier. So that's give me Utah as a pretender. I'll take them 8-4, maybe 9-3.
And then if that's how they finish, you should see them as a pretender. It shouldn't be, because you had a bad season last year. I think that's a good way to potentially say goodbye to Kyle Whittingham, because it could be his last season in Utah. Right. Potentially. He's almost on his way out. So not for bad performance, just because he's been there for a very long time. All right, here's some just random Big 12. Yeah, for sure. Here's some random Big 12 questions. I'm going to throw you on the spot here, starting with your little brother there. Does Brett Brennan get fired at the end of the season?
That's a tough question. Here's the thing, as an ASU fan, I don't want him to get fired because he's not good. But the thing with U of A is there have been times where they are totally good with kicking the can down the road, and there's times where like, okay, yeah, we made a mistake, we need to move on. This is the same team that hired Kevin Sumlin and hung on to him a little too long, but then they brought in Jed Fish. So they make good hires and they make really bad hires. I was surprised that Brennan stuck around after 1 year, but if he's going to stay for 2 years, I do think there's a realistic chance that he stays. Right now, as much as I don't want to admit this, U of A has a better recruiting class than ASU does. They landed their own 4-star quarterback. They landed their own top 20 quarterback in the 2026 cycle. You fire Brennan, you risk losing all of that. And U of A's not in a situation right now where they can afford to lose good football players who can potentially turn their program around. Plus, Noah Fafita is going to be gone next year. So there's your future that you could be risking. So unless U of A goes 0-12, and God willing they will, I just don't know that they will be ready to move on from Brennan. I think that you will see the typical college football style. You give a guy 3 years and then you evaluate.
Okay. All right.
Give him a life contract, though. I love him.
Yeah, there you go. Heisman Trophy candidates. Are we going to have any in the Big 12? And I think Avery Johnson could be a dark horse candidate to that. Do you have any on Arizona State or maybe anybody else in the conference that pops up to you?
I mean, I'll just name a handful of quarterbacks in the Big 12. Throw in Avery Johnson because I think the touchdowns are going to be there and I think the rushing yards are going to be there. Toss in Sam Levitt because he has some national attention now, and I expect big numbers from him. And toss in Sawyer Robertson because he's going to lead the Big 12 in passing yards this year. He has a great opportunity to lead the conference in total touchdowns. And Baylor's going to be a high-flying offense. I don't know what to do with their defense, but I'll tell you that Baylor is going to end up being one of the top 5, maybe top 3 highest-scoring teams in the conference. Give me those 3 quarterbacks to be in the Heisman Trophy conversation for sure. And then we'll see what else can happen because Josh Hoover is going to throw the ball around the yard too. I'm really bullish on TCU this year. So
Yeah,
give me those 3.
I have no idea how to judge TCU, but I do know Josh Hoover is going to have a really good season. All right, last question here. I had an episode earlier this week with Jake Crane from Crane and Company, and he had some interesting Big 12 predictions. He predicted 2 Big 12 teams to make the college football playoffs. Just for a caveat here, it was Kansas State and Utah. We've already talked about what we thought about Utah being a pretender, but we have Arizona State and Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game. Obviously, for this sake of conversation, that would be the 2 teams that would make it to the college football playoffs. Do you see that being a possibility? Do you see the committee, if both of them are 10-2, like we predicted, get the loser into the college football playoffs, or do they have to be 11-1 to make that happen?
I think you got to be an 11-win team because Iowa State was not getting in last year, and 9-3 Alabama was that close. They want the brand names in there. And one of the problems that the Big 12 right now has is there's not a brand name. There are good, well-respected brand names. Kansas State for a very long time. Utah for the last several years. Oklahoma State, outside of last year, has typically been a well-respected program. TCU is up there. Baylor's up there. Arizona State has had more highs than lows, but they have been very up and down. There's not a program in the Big 12 right now that garners the attention and the respect that programs like Alabama do. Even Ole Miss and South Carolina were 9-3, and they had better shots to make the playoff than Iowa State did, right, wrong, or indifferent. So I think the only way the Big 12 is going to have 2 teams in this year, again, operative phrase here, right, wrong, or indifferent, is if you have 2 11-win programs. It's just so difficult right now with the bias that people have for other conferences, coupled with the bias that people have against the Big 12.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense to me. I love it. All right, man.
Which is a bummer.
I appreciate you joining this conversation, talking the Cats, talking Sun Devils, and talking the entire Big 12. I hope you enjoy the games on Saturday, and hopefully that comes with a Kansas State win. Richie, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter at RichieBrads36. That's Brads with a Z. Hit me up. Let's talk some ball. I'm always right, except when I'm wrong. But even when I'm wrong, I'm still right.
Well, if he's right about Kansas State, Arizona State, I'm not going to bat an eye about it.
Only Wildcats I'll be cheering for, man. Only Wildcats I'll be cheering for.
That sounds good to me. All right,
Until
folks,
Arlington.
please like the video. Please subscribe. And this has been a Locked On. And this has been a Locked On College Crossover. Hit the wrong button on that one.
That's okay.
All right, man.